uns alle zusammenkommen.
De China a Peru,
Drei Chinis hier Yin.
pour le rouge royal et bleu, Harvard tem seu vermelho.
모래니의 색깔도 먹을 펜실베니아 길이에 아까도 아우기루
حلوة حلوة بنسلفانيا mabuhay sa pula at baka.
Hurra, 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 hurra for the red and blue.
Well, welcome again to part 2, day 2 of Forerunner Global 2023. Some of you joined us yesterday for part 1 of Forerunner Global. This is the last of our Forerunner series for this year. I'm again Rudy Altimorano, the Executive Director of the International Student and Scholar Services, as well as the Executive Director of Immigration Services and Integration Programs. We are very excited to start again a new year for all of you, and we are very excited to welcome you to the University of Pennsylvania. Today will be exciting compared to yesterday too, because we have two-part session. The first part for this morning is meeting with the faculty of Penn, and the second part is meeting with the current students of the University of Pennsylvania. Both wonderful experiences, and I would like you to make sure that you stay in both sessions. We will also have a Penn Philadelphia trivia during the intermission program where you can get prizes from us. So with that, I would like to start with our faculty panelists. Okay, I'll invite them. They will wave to you so that we're able to get to know our esteemed faculty. Our first faculty is Dr. Osek Eki, Director for Graduate Student Programming, Penn Engineering. Osek, or Dr. Eki, is the Director of Graduate Students Programming at Penn Engineering. He is responsible for spearheading strategies to increase retention of underrepresented minority students in all graduate programs at Penn Engineering, especially those who were admitted as Dean's Master's Fellows and Master's to PhD Bridge Fellows. Before Penn, he served as a senior consultant and editor for Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, working on climate change and agricultural resilience. He has taught global studies, international communications at Penn State and UNC Chapel Hill, and written peer-reviewed publications and a book chapter. He received his Master's of Arts degree from Baylor University, Bachelor of Arts from Foreign Service at the same university, and a PhD in Mass Communications Research from Penn State University, University Park. It's my honor to Dr. Eki, say hi, to wave to them. Yes. Professor Nichols is next. Professor Nichols teaches and conducts research on social and economic development, emerging economies, and corruption. He is a Joseph Kolodny Professor of Social Responsibility and Business and Professor of Legal Studies and Business Ethics at the Wharton School. He has conducted field work with organizations in more than 20 countries on issues of corruption control or business development in the form, for example, in the former Soviet Union and in Eastern Europe. Professor Nichols has served as the president of the Academy of Legal Studies in Business, co-chair of the Anti-Corruption Law Interest Group, also the co-chair of UN CFAC-LG, it's a United Nations Expert Committee on Trade Facilitation, and co-chair of the American Society of International Law's Interest Group on International Economics Law. At Penn, Professor Nichols served until last year as the faculty director of Stafford College House, where he and his family lived for 25 years. That's a long time. And prior to joining the faculty at Wharton, Professor Nichols practiced international law with law firms in Boston and Washington. Last but not the least, another esteemed colleague and faculty is Dr. Buntao Lu, RCA professor and associate dean for graduate programs School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. Dr. Buntao Lu is currently the RCA professor and also with a secondary appointment in electrical and systems engineering. He led the NetDB or leads the NetDB at Penn Research Group and also the director of the Distributed Systems Lab and member of the Database Group. He is the recipient of the NSF Career Award in 2009, the Air Force Office of Scientific Research Young Investigator Award 2012, Penn's Engineering Inventor of the Year Award 2018, Ruth and Joe Spira Award for Excellence in Teaching 2021, and last but not the least, the University Lindbeck Award for Distinguished Teaching. What an accomplished awardee. He has graduated 16 PhD students, including 5 winners, listen to this, 5 winners of dissertation awards. He received his PhD degree in computer science from the University of California at Berkeley in 2006. Welcome, Dr. Lu. Say hi to our our new students and parents joining us today. So I will ask a question and feel free to raise your hand, feel free to, turn on your camera or just go for it. We can take 2 or 3 answers based on this. The first question I would like to ask is, what are the best practices that you can share with us and the new students and parents in this Zoom room so that students can successfully work with you as a faculty? Do you want me to repeat it? Best practices to effectively work with you as a faculty. I know you're not just, the University of Pennsylvania is not a teacher-centered university. It's very student-centered. So there's also a partnership and collaboration between faculty and students. Who wants to take that answer, that question, I mean? Feel free. Yes, Dr. Eki, go for it.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Penn, University of Pennsylvania. I think you've made the right choice. And obviously, the first thing to say is that bear in mind and believe that we all want you to succeed at Penn. Every faculty, every teaching and staff, we want you to succeed. The reason you're coming to Penn is to get a world and first-class education, and that is on our mind. And so know that we want you to succeed, but that success also depends on you working hard. This is a world-class Ivy League university, so the expectations are very high, but it's not impossible. Obviously, you were selected to come here because we believe that you have the ability to succeed. Now, one of the advice I'll give to you as you come into Philadelphia and to Penn is to get to know your teachers above and beyond classroom interactions. And what does that mean? That means that every instructor, every professor you meet will have office hours. Make some time to go to the office hours and just talk about who you are, introduce them to you, let them get to know you as a person, not just as a student that comes to class every day or when the class is scheduled, but that you are making some time to interact with your faculty, your professors, and get to know them as people, and they get to know you as people, as a person, and tell them your stories, tell them about your country, tell them about your family. Those kinds of interactions will personalize the experience that you have on campus. And of course, part of it is also that you are open to interact with other students. Penn is a very diverse campus. We have people from all over the world, and we have people of all kinds of religious affiliations, beliefs, and culture. And make yourself available to absorb all of those things that we offer here on campus. And of course, our focus is to make you a world-class citizen, and so that you can go and shine and be a proud alumni of the university. So I welcome all of you. Thank you.
So Dr. Eki has, to sum it up, he doesn't want you to be invisible, right? Get to know yours. Make sure that you're known by your professor beyond the classroom environment. Of course, you cannot just be quiet in your classroom, but be visible. Be visible with your professor interact with people, make yourself visible, let your presence known, not just with your professor, but your colleagues, your students, the other students, and your peers. Thank you. Professor Nichols and Professor Liu, anything else? If you have anything to add, yes, Professor Nichols, go for it.
I would only add, in the interest of time, that I've taught in many countries in the world, and one thing about education in the United States is it's intended to be a collaborative relationship in the classroom. And so, as Dr. Eki was saying, we want to know you as a person. It's hard because some of our classes are hundreds of people big, but the purpose is to form a relationship. The education system that you might have experienced in your home country is different, and the reason you're coming here is to experience something different. And so take advantage of the fact that it is different. Don't be intimidated by the fact that it's different.
Be curious, accept, and be ready to be adaptable to differences, classroom differences. Definitely, that's true. You know, I was a former international student years and years ago, and that's the one thing I did is be curious and be willing to try new things, right? Including working with professors, the classroom style, the pedagogical experience. Dr. Liu, this is for you, okay? And then, of course, I can ask the two other panelists to respond if they wish. In the United States and Penn, class participation is often a significant portion of a student's grade. I don't know about engineering, but maybe you can speak generally on behalf of the university as a professor. And for new students who may not be accustomed to the participatory style of some university classes in the United States, what advice can you give? I don't know whether this is true for engineering, but you know, as a professor, you are a student here, an international student yourself in Berkeley, but can you shed light on or shed some wisdom for us?
Sure, this is a great question, and I'd like to share some personal experiences. So, you know, when I finished my undergrad, I was a straight AA+ student, but I really struggled in my PhD program. And one of the big changes that was made is classes are smaller. There's a lot more interaction, a lot of emphasis on oral examinations. And this is true, by the way, even at the undergrad level when you're taking some small classes where it's very much discussion oriented. And it's not unusual, depending on the faculty, to allocate a significant portion of the grade on class participation. And this is something I clearly struggled with as an international student, where, you know, sometimes you're not really like encouraged to speak up, or rather you could get through your whole class and be the top student, get your A's without uttering a single word. But that approach doesn't work in America. So what could you do? There are a couple of things to mention here. So first of all, participation can really come in many ways, right? So you may not be the loudest voice in class, but you could be active on, for example, the discussion forums, which, for example, at Penn, we use @discussion, which is a Q&A forum where students ask questions and other students help out. So I think being vocal or in that setting, being active in that certainly counts towards participation as well. And also building up your confidence by going to office hours, meet the TAs, meet the faculty. Sometimes you don't have to be the loudest voice in town, right? But you could be the most thoughtful one in one-on-one conversations. The last advice I would give, and this is the best advice I got from a professor at Berkeley. So this came right after I failed my PhD oral exam at Berkeley because I could not present well. And I was in his class, and he was commenting that, you know, I was always very quiet. And he gave me this best advice, which I took, and that was life-changing. He said, Boone, in every class you go, ask one question, talk once in class, just to build up your confidence. And the first time I did that, he was like, you know, pumping his fist in class and you know, cheering me on. And that was really life-changing for me. And since then, I always make it a point Like you don't look stupid doing that. Trust me. Like if you have a doubt, everyone else in class most likely have as well. So just like slowly build up your confidence and try to participate. Yeah, and one question at a time.
Very good advice, Professor Lou. Just be engaged. If you're not able to participate in a very large environment, classroom environment, there's so many venues and platforms to be active, to be an active participant. I like your point about asking one question. I think that one question, you can think about that very carefully. You don't have to be the talker of the class, but just one asking question. But if it's a very, very, very valid question, it will stick to the mind of the professor. And office hours, we'll talk about that. Unless Professor Nichols and Professor Eki, I can talk about office hours if needed, unless both of you have additional wisdom to share about class participation. Okay, nothing. The professor will talk about office hours, which is very typical. It's part of the university experience here in the United States. Why are office hours important? And how can students best maximize time with their professor during office hours? So importance and maximization of office hours, because professors are so busy. And so you might be, it can be maybe you get 30 minutes, an hour, I don't know how many. It depends on the professor. So run with that. Anyone? Yes, Professor Nichols, go for it.
I'm volunteering because I love office hours. They're awesome. You get a whole bunch of people in your office and their ideas are flying around and they're asking questions and the conversation goes completely into directions that you never go into a class. And it's just so much fun. They're one of my favorite things about being at Penn. But I've learned that every professor at Penn, every instructor at Penn runs their office hours differently. And most faculty don't know that. So they expect you to understand their office hours. So, when you go in, be aware that the one you just did with Professor X is probably not the same as the one you'll do with Professor Y. The one constant is that faculty are there for you at office hours. Their consulting fees may be $10,000, $20,000 an hour. You get them for free. They're there for you. And the other constant is that, as Professor Eki and Professor Liu both alluded to, in my opinion, brilliantly, the relationship that you can build during office hours is profoundly different than the relationship that you can build in the classroom. Professor Liu mentioned that the faculty, his instructor said, was pumping his fists when he asked that question in class. That was a relationship built out of class that then had a profound impact in class and for other things lifelong. I still correspond with literally hundreds of students who I've created relationships with during office hours, all around the world. And so it is an amazing resource that you need to understand is different everywhere, but one that you must take advantage of, and one that can change your experience at Penn in ways I can't even describe.
Thank you, Professor Nichols. Dr. Eki, you want to add something?
Yes, Professor Nichols makes very, very excellent points about the importance of office hours. So did Dr. Boone. And when we build relationships, it's not just when the class is over. So you have to realize this week, I've been inundated with students asking me to write them letters of recommendation. These are students that were in my class that I interacted with in 2019. They're off and now they've worked in the industry. They want to go back to graduate school and they'll send me and request a letter of recommendation. But I remember them very well because of the interaction we had during the office hours, or they came to my office. And that's how your professors get to know you. So besides saying that you are a brilliant student, you made an A, what else can they say about you? And that what else they can say about you will come about from your interaction with them during the office hours. And it's one of those things where when professors assign, generally speaking, when they assign grades to students and you're on the cusp of maybe an A minus an A, and your name comes across, you have an 88, and if you have a 90, you make an A. And then the professor will be like, oh yeah, I remember this student. They came to office hours, had some interesting conversations. And this is part of also the overall participation. And that professor, if he's kind and enjoy the time you spent with him or her, can say, okay, this student can make an A because of X, Y, and Z, the way they handled themselves, the way they talked in class, they asked questions, they came to office hours, they turned the assignments on time, they can bump you up. So there are all kinds of benefits that comes from going to office hours, besides asking specific questions about the course content or the TAs and things of that nature. But when you look at it on the broader picture, you realize that you're forming this relationship that will benefit you as you move along through your career, whether you need letters of recommendation or you need references from your employers, or you're applying for a job, you say, who can give you a reference? This is how you establish that relationship, because then the professor will have more things to say about you before you're above and beyond your performance in the course.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Unless Professor Liu has additional thing, I can proceed to the next question. What advice would you give to a new undergraduate student? So I'm speaking of undergraduate student who is struggling to decide on a major or program of study. And I know there's a lot of cultural factors involved here: parents' decision, parents' preference, students' preference. Sometimes you talk to friends when you go to college and you're, wow, I like that major too. As a pen parent, I'm going through that right now. So what is your advice? Go for it.
Yeah, so maybe I can start to try to answer this. So the first thing to note is the US education is very broad-based. So if you consider a 4-year college degree in the US and pick your favorite country elsewhere, you will find that the US curriculum has a healthy mix of topics in your major, but also different other areas. So for example, I was a computer science major, but when I was undergrad, I took a lot of classes. Some of the classes that really had profound impact on me include classes on ethnic studies, where I learned about race relations, Asian American studies, where I kind of began to understand how Asians who have migrated to America live and think. And I was a big fan of Asterix and Obelix comics growing up, and I took classes in Roman history, and the list goes on, right? So I think if you are trying to figure out what major to study, and for the record, I came in as an undeclared major at Berkeley, so I kind of know exactly, what many of you might be thinking about, is you have to be quite strategic at the beginning. So for example, let's say in your first semester, you plan to take 4 or 5 classes. I would recommend choosing no more than 2 classes in your major. And then you explore by taking 2 or 3 classes in other areas, be it music, economics, whatever interests you, because you never know where these things would take you. And even if those other classes do not result in a change of heart or change of major, they could impact you in many other ways. And because of the broad-based nature of the US education, it also means that if you switch your major in, say, the second year, a lot of the classes you have taken, one way or another, would fit into different buckets, whether it's social science or humanities and so on. But that said, whatever you do, you have to be very strategic, because if you decide on your major really late, say junior year, or after you have committed a lot of classes in one major, then you may end up in a situation where you may need to take additional classes beyond the minimum to graduate. But this is where I think academic advising comes into play, right? So make sure you have thoughtful conversations. We earlier talked about talking to advisors during office hours, and beyond classroom material, that's a great conversation to have with your advisor as well, to figure out different career choices, and talk to your departmental coordinators, who usually are great at the nuts and bolts of what classes satisfy what requirement, so you could plan ahead in time.
That's very good, Professor Liu. Professor Nichols, Professor Eki, any additional feedback? That's very, very well stated.
I lived with undergraduates for 25 years. There's a lot of really bad advice out there.
Okay.
Professor Liu just gave you some excellent advice. You want to be really careful about listening to your fellow students who tell you, you've got to do this to get a job. You don't. Or who tell you, if you don't graduate in this, you're not really studying at Penn. It's all Penn and it's all amazing. And I've spent a lot of time, I know there are parents in our audience today. I spent a lot of time comforting students who were crying at night because they were under so much pressure from their parents to major in something that they really had very little interest in, when they'd actually found something they were passionate about someplace else. And you know, if you're in that kind of situation, talk to people. There are plenty of people at Penn, plenty of support services that can help you navigate that particular difficult situation. In the end, you want to listen to your academic advisor. You want the people you've created relationships with, like faculty, and you want to listen to yourself, because you're going to find something at Penn that you're really interested in. And that's a cool thing to pursue. And it won't hold you back no matter what you want to do later on in life. It might even help you in ways that you can't even think about right now, particularly since the jobs that you're going to have haven't even been invented yet. So you don't want to prepare for the past. You want to think about the amazing future.
Excellent words of wisdom. I will transition to the next question, which is related to small group projects. Wharton and engineering, C's have both of those. And so my question here is, what advice do you have for students working in small group projects? Penn is a global university, and of course, learning styles, working styles, group dynamics can be impacted. So can you speak on that particular matter or that question? Who wants to start?
Well, you know, group work is really, really important, above and beyond the immediate project. Because if you get to know your group members and you work well with them, these are your future colleagues. These are the people that you work with in the industry when you graduate. And if you have good, very good group dynamics, these are also people you will call on as a professional and you want to collaborate with, because you have seen how they work, their work ethic. And of course, it requires being open, being transparent, being honest, and also setting some rules and boundaries in terms of the expectations of each group. You'll realize that when you work in a group, some people will be slacking, or they expect you to pick up, you know, the load. And then at the end of the work, they will show up and be like, oh yes, I did X, Y, and Z, which may not be true. And so the key thing is to make it clear what responsibilities and roles each person in the group will play. And also be patient with your group members. I think part of it is that, you know, we can go into a group all exuberant and we want to get the work done, but we're all different individuals and we all have different abilities. And part of the group dynamics will be that leaders of the group will emerge. And then there are people who are not leaders, they will just follow. You tell them what to do, they will do it. But overall, having patience and also understanding and trying to see and empathy will serve you well in the group. But overall, I think group work is so important, because in a sense, it nurtures the interdisciplinarity of what we're trying to achieve, which is basically allow you to explore and to interact with people from other cultures, from other majors, and see their point of view. And of course, the shining goal is to create this product, the final product, working as a group. And if you do it very well, you'll find out that in fact your report or your project will you know, shine as well.
Thank you, Professor Eki. Anything to add, Professor Nichols and Professor Huntaulu?
Yeah, I'd like to add a few more things to that. So first of all, I think everyone should take advantage of the diverse cultures we have at the Penn campus. And in part because today a lot of complex global problems really require bringing people from different backgrounds and different cultures together, right? So whether you're talking about training new AI models, making self-driving cars work for different cultures, or even climate change, which is really like a global problem. And I think every one of you, no matter how difficult, should resist the temptation of just coming here and working with people from your same background. So for example, I teach a large few hundred student class, and it's very common to see students when they start forming groups of 4 for the final project to gravitate towards people from their home country. And this is all great. I understand that there's a strong cultural affinity, but there's a lot to be said about being able to step up and learn to work with different people from different cultures. Now, one of the advantages of coming from a small island like Singapore is when I came to the US, I had hardly any Singaporeans in my class, maybe once in a year. But then when I look back, it really gave me the opportunity to work with people from different countries. And I felt it enriched my experience. And I certainly encourage you to do the same as well.
Very good advice. The next question, I like this next question that I will ask. As you can see, we have 3 panelists, very global. We have 2 international faculty coming from another country, experiencing teaching here, doing their graduate school here in the United States. And we have a faculty who has traveled all over the world and loves the global experience. But always, and I deal with international students, new and current about this. There's some misperceptions that international students have or might have of Penn faculty. They're very aloof, no time for me, very dismissive, very high above there, very knowledgeable. It can be very intimidating, hard to approach because maybe so I'm disturbing him or her or them. So what are the misperceptions they think, if you can speak as a former international student or now as a faculty, and what you're hearing from international students, and how do you dispel that stereotype or that misperception, navigating that misperception? Because when I first came here 40 years ago as an international student, professors are professors. I look up to them and I'm very hesitant to approach them. In fact, sometimes office hours can be 30 minutes and so, I can see people waiting outside his office. And I say, I don't want to disturb him, so I'm rushing with my questions. So we have our own misperceptions as international students, and this can impact our success in a university environment. So I would like you to comment on this, bring back all these wonderful memories, but then as now in your roles as professors of an esteemed Ivy League university, that can be, that can be very helpful for our students. Who wants to take the first dib?
Well,
Professor
again,
Nichols, go for it.
Again, I lived with undergrads for 25 years, and
yes.
It wasn't just the international students who had misperceptions about Penn faculty. So yeah, as was just said, we're all chaired professors at Ivy League institution, but we're also human beings who have human lives, and most of us understand that other people are human beings that have human lives, including our students. And so, although you want to be careful and not be disrespectful, you also want to keep in mind that at the end of the day, we're all just people. We just happen to be so extremely lucky to be here at Penn, and we're all about different things, but we're all also human. And that's a pretty good place to start in building whatever kind of relationship you're going to build, whether it's just being in the classroom or whether you're going to be in a college house or be a graduate associate in a college house or whatever. The humanness is what we all have in common.
Professor Nichols, Jingswan, I know you're excited to ask the question, but we'll just wait for this and then I will call. I promise I will call. You'll be the first person I will call once I open the floor for questions. Thank you for being so bold and ready to ask a question. But I'll get back to you after. Yeah, I'm just finishing this, and soon we will be opening the chat for your question. Okay. Any other additional information? Because this is a very, very good question. I like this question a lot. That's why I asked this. I raised this, and I've been asking this to many Forerunner, many years, and I like the answers given by our professors. Anyway, anything else about the misperceptions?
Yeah, so maybe I can add to that. So, different professors have different interests. Some gravitate towards more teaching, some more research, but there's one common denominator, which is, I think, all of us chose to become faculty because we love to interact with students. Otherwise, we would have pursued other different jobs. So I remember as a freshman at Berkeley, and I looked at this faculty teaching in front of a few hundred students. And trust me, like I did not have the courage to go to their office hours because they look so like amazing up there, right? So sure, I would go to the TAs and so on. And it took me a while to overcome that. And interestingly, because I did my undergrad and PhD at the same university, I got to see a different side of the same faculty, right? So when I became a grad student, particularly once I got to my 4th and 5th year, and I start sitting on the same table, the faculty having lunch and dinner, and I realized, hey, those godlike characters are actually humans too. And they have the same concerns, the same things, so yeah, I think that's one of the most common misconception. The other one is that when you read a faculty's bio, you only read about their good things, right? But I can tell you, you go to any faculty and ask them to compile their list of failures, they can write a book on it. And many of us also, we don't do well in everything. There are cases where we struggle, we had to overcome, just like any other human being.
I really appreciate all this feedback because it gives, a shed of light that this is reality. We're all, don't be intimidated, just be yourself. And as long as there's respect, Professor Nichols said that, and you approach them with respect and give them the space and the dignity that they deserve, it's fun to engage with faculty. These three colleagues are one of the most wonderful faculty that I've worked with here at Penn in my 17 years. And I've interacted with more faculty, and they're very different beyond the classroom. So the last question I will ask, and I will open the floor for Q&A, is this is my most favorite question that I have coined in the last many, many years. So it's fill in the blank. It's a fill in the blank question. Professor Nichols smiling, maybe he knows this already if he remembers. I'll start with the Professor Lu because I want him to be the first day, because Professor Eki and Professor Nichols have done this in the past, but I want to give Professor Lu the first dib on this question. A great Penn student is blank. A great Penn student is blank. Professor Lu, go for it.
Sure. So I think all of you got into Penn because you have done well up to this point, right? Good grades, possibly very active in school, sports, extracurricular activities, and so on. So I would say that a good Penn student is not just based on GPA, but rather how you contribute to the Penn community and the society at large, right? So it always brings a lot of joy to me when I go on alumni events and I meet a Penn students who has been out 10, 15 years and hear about all the great things that they do. And it's almost never about the size of their paycheck or how much Google stock options they have. And it's always never about that. but rather the impact they have in their jobs and how it improves people around them and also the society at large.
Thank you, Professor Lu. Professor Nichols, Dr. Eki, any addition?
Well, I'll add that a great Penn student is open-minded. And so what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that you're willing to take certain risks. As Professor Boone said before, we have a very diverse campus, and you have to be brave and fearless to interact with people and not just put yourself in a little bubble of, say, people from India or China or Africans and things like that. You have to be brave and open-minded to go out there and make new friends. We live in a globalized world, and this is your opportunity to make friends and acquaintances from all over the world in this small Penn community. And so you have the opportunity to do that. And we live in a great city of Philadelphia. This is where the whole thing started as far as the United States is concerned. It's an old city, it's a historical city. School was founded by Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers. So there is a rich history in the city of Philadelphia for you to explore above and beyond being on the Penn campus. There's all kinds of activities, as Professor Boone said, that you can find yourself participating in. And ultimately, the goal is, how do you use your education to contribute to the greater good of mankind? So we have issues on climate change, you have issues on global warming, you have issues on habitat, we have issues on food and nutrition all around the world. And what we hope you can get from Penn is ideas and the knowledge to go out there and tackle some of these issues and improve the lives of people that you may not even know by now, but from your work, you will do fantastic things all over the world. And our students will always say to us, as Boone was saying, most of the most valuable experiences they've had at Penn was outside of the classroom. And so put yourself in a position to have those similar experiences and then go out and make the world a better place. I think that's ultimately what we want you, a great Penn student, to be.
Thank you, Dr. Eki. Professor Nichols?
I agree with everything that's just been very eloquently said. I would add my contribution would be a great Penn student is genuine. And by that, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on all of you to be a lot of things. And sometimes you'll feel like you're faking it. We all do. But there are things that the beauty of an education, a college education or a graduate education in the United States, is it gives you a lot of space and a lot of support to find yourself. And that may be you're going to be a great parent, or it may be you're going to be a great dentist, or it may be you're going to be the person who does solve climate change, or you may be X, things I don't know and don't understand. But that's you, and the time you had here allowed you to find you. And if that happens, I think Penn has been successful in its investment, as well as everything else that's been said.
Thank you so much. So before, I just want to tell you, we're opening the floor for question and answer. It's an opportunity for you to engage with our esteemed faculty panelists. I know Jing Swan has been waiting patiently. So Jing Swan, introduce who you are, where you're coming from, and what you will be doing at Penn this coming fall semester. Go for and then ask your question. We want to get to know you. Unfortunately, in a webinar, Zoom webinar, we cannot turn on your camera, so we cannot see your face, but at least we can hear your voice. So introduce who you are, and let's hear your question or comment. Jing Swan, can you hear me? Hello? Hello. Maybe you have some technical difficulties. Mr. Ran? Okay. How about anyone else? Don't be, again, let's apply the principles that our faculty have shared, and that's no intimidation. Don't be intimidated. This is the first office hour that you experience with them. Any questions from our new students and even the parents? Do you have questions for our faculty? Yes, Adwait Agashe, I know you're from India. I talked to you yesterday. So again, introduce yourself, because this is a new panel, new student panelists and new faculty panels. Introduce who you are again and what you'll be doing when you arrive at Penn in fall. Go for it, Adwait.
Hello,
Yes.
I'm Advait Agate from India, and I'll be coming to UPenn for a master's in computer and information sciences. And my question was regarding office hours. So if we have some doubts that we wish to discuss with the professors, do we have to book an appointment with the professors beforehand, or would the professors be available if we just walk in? And if we have to book an appointment, like how is the process for that? Thank you.
Professor Liu, I think this will be good for you. You know, in computer engineering, this is from your student. Go for it.
Yeah, Edward, you came to the right panel. Since all right, so a couple of things to note. Most professors will publish their office hours. So maybe they'll say like, I'm holding office hours every Monday and Wednesday, 9 to 10 a.m. I'm just giving an example. And also TAs will also publish their office hours throughout the week. And we try not to overlap in time, so there's coverage on every day. And there are different types of office hours. Most of the TA office hours tend to be one-on-one, where they meet students and you know they're stuck on a programming assignment and they need help. Professors ones, sometimes they're one-on-one, sometimes they could be group session. And also, let's say a professor has published a certain time. Sometimes it's first come, first serve, right? So students could be waiting outside. But increasingly more, I've seen faculty using queuing software. So for example, at Penn, there's a software called OHQ, which is basically, you can think of that like a virtual waiting list, where students, let's say you want to meet a faculty at 10, you would sign up and then the faculty will use that to call a student in at a time. That said, because of what happened during the pandemic, a lot of faculty and also even TAs now hold hybrid office hours. Sometimes they would interchange Zoom and in person. Sometimes they would say, during this time, you could either talk to me on Zoom or in person. And usually this is all quite well spelled out. And I think the important thing for you to note is less on the mechanics of getting to office hours, because I think that's all well publicized. But I think more importantly, who to approach for what type of questions. So for example, if you're stuck on a bug and there's one line in your C code you couldn't fix for the last 3 days, chances are the TA is the best person to help you. But if it's a question on the course lecture, conceptual question, broader question on particularly career choices or more broader issues, most likely the faculty would be a better help for you. But these are things you can figure out, once you get here.
Thank you, Professor Liu. Adwait, I'll give you to answer your question.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot.
We'll see you in fall. Okay, we're very excited. You're very active with this session, so I really appreciate it. Any other questions from our students, new students, and our parents all over the world? Any more questions? This is your chance.
It looks like Daniela has a question.
Yes, Daniela, go for it, Daniela. Who you are, where you're from, and what major you'll be coming in, what level of schooling. Go for it, Daniela.
So good morning. My name is Daniela, and I'm currently studying in Mexico, and I'm planning to attend the College of Arts and Sciences under the biochemistry major. So I was wondering, just as Professor Liu mentioned before, that he has taken various courses during his college life in different areas such as ethics, etc., that doesn't necessarily match with his major. So I was wondering, what's Professor's opinion about a student who is not necessarily into taking the major, but interested in taking the courses?
Anyone? Not necessarily interested in taking that major, but just want to take a course to diversify the portfolio, the academic? Yes.
I can tell you that instructors rarely, if ever, know if someone is actually in the major that course is part of. So you're not identified as a non-major taking that course. There may be people who've taken a lot of courses with that professor because they're majors and the professor knows them, but there's nothing that identifies you as a non-major. And you're welcome, and we love you in our classes. It's awesome to have you there.
Great. Any other questions,
So-
comments? Yes.
Yeah, so the courses are listed differently. So the number of the course that you take will tell you if it's major specific course or if it's a course that any student at Penn can take. So for example, in engineering, and Boone can add to this, we have ENGR courses that begin with ENGR 2240, for example. That is a specific engineering course. We also have courses that begin with EAS, Engineering and Applied Science. And usually with these courses, the EAS courses is open to any student from the Penn campus can take those courses. They're not as engineering heavy. They don't require technical elements as much as the ENGR courses. So when you sign up for classes, look at the prefix, the number preceding the letters preceding the numbers. That will give you an indication of whether it's major specific or whether it's a class you can take as an elective that is open to all students. And of course, that's why you have academic advisors that will help explain some of these things to you.
Thank you. Any other questions from our participants?
Yeah.
Professor Lu.
So Rudy, I just want to really add quickly to the last question on nuts and bolts of taking classes. So let's say you are in arts and science. Typically, it's not too hard for you to get into another arts and science class even if it's outside of your major. But one thing to keep in mind is there are some classes across the campus that are very popular. So for example, intro classes in programming in the engineering school or intro business classes at Wharton. So and some of those classes may require permit to enroll. And my advice to everyone is if you're really interested in very popular classes that are open to students across the campus, is to enroll in them during advanced registration. And if you cannot get into those classes for whatever reason, just be very persistent, go talk to the faculty, be thick-skinned, and most of the time you'll be able to get in.
Thank you so much. Okay, one last question. Going once, going twice. Okay, there you go. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our three faculty panelists, Professor Nichols, Professor Buntao Lu, Professor Boone, and Dr. Eki for your wonderful time with us. We're very excited. Thank you so much for the support that you have given to our new students. And I'm sure you'll be excited to see them when they join us this fall. Again, before we go to the next group of student panelists, exciting, because we have Karen students from all over the world, from all majors and backgrounds. We will have Jackie play Penn and Philadelphia trivia to win some prizes. With this, professors, thank you so much to our great faculty, and we'll see you again on campus as we navigate a new fall experience. Okay, so don't leave yet, because we have the great group of students giving their time for you to interact with you today. So Jackie, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Rudy, and thank you again to our amazing faculty panelists. We are going to have a little bit of an intermission, do some fun trivia. So I'm going to go ahead and share a slide quickly with you all to get started. It's just a QR code for trivia software there. So I'm going to go ahead. Can you all see that QR code, Rudy? All right, so just go ahead and get out your phone. And once you go looks like we got a lot of people logging on here. Perfect. I'll give it a minute or so while you all are able to join. I'm going to test some of your knowledge of Philadelphia and Penn, just to see how much you know about your new home. Right, great. I see everybody's getting on here. A couple more minutes. And if for some reason the QR code doesn't work for you or you're on a different device, you can always go to that browser link above at alphaslides.com, and the code is TX842. All right. Another minute or so while people join. And I will say the top winners at the end will be eligible for a prize that they can pick up from ISSS during orientation week. So I want to just shout out now. I'll remind you at the end, but the winners private message me during the Zoom with their email address, so I can reach out to you and let you know how to pick up the prize. All right. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. If you haven't joined yet, please take this time now to go ahead and jump in. All right, we got about 40 people on, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off and get started with the first question. So here we go. All right, great. Let's start with question number 1. So please go ahead and look at your phones and it will give you the options for the first question. And now speed does count for these answers. So the quicker and the more accurate your answer, the more points you're going to get. Okay, get those answers in. Let's see how we did. All right. Most of you got it right, but I see that we have a decent spread of answers. So let's see who's in the top after the first question. Ooh, all right. Got some initial rankings, but those things will definitely change. Here we go with question number 2. What year was the University of Pennsylvania founded? Is it 1619, 1740, 1831, or 1919? All right, and we gave you 20 seconds so that you wouldn't really have time to Google a lot of this, hopefully. All right, get those answers in. And let's, all right, awesome job. Looks like most of you got the correct answer, which is 1740. We're gonna keep this going fast and furious. So we've got the results. Oh, we got still got, ooh. Oh, wow, we got a shake up in the rankings here. All right, let's move on to question number 3. All right, so question number 3 is, which of the following foods is famous in Philadelphia? Is it the shoe fly pie, deep dish pizza, is it a cheesesteak, or fried Oreos? Get those answers in. There's about 7 seconds left. Great. And the answer is, of course, cheesesteaks, which again, congrats. Looks like most of you got the correct answer. So shout out to Pat's and Gino's and all the other local establishments that you all will be able to get a chance to try once you're here. All right, let's see how we're doing. All right, looks like Prutha is rocking with the longest streak at number 1. So let's see how it goes when we go on to the next question. We're gonna just breeze through these. All right, all my C's people should know here, the world's first programmable electronic general purpose digital computer was born at Penn in 1945. What was it called? The COM1, ENIAC, Fortran, VIC-20. Got about 5 seconds, get those answers in. There we go. All right, and great job. Looks like most of you got the correct answer, which is of course the ENIAC, which is on display at Penn. All right, let's see. Oh, we still got Prutha at number 1, but again, it's anybody's game still since we're halfway through. So go ahead and keep those questions coming. Which university is Penn's chief friendly rival? Is it Harvard, MIT, Princeton, or Johns Hopkins? Got about 10 seconds to get those answers in. All right, which is our rival? And the answer is, of course, Princeton. Of course, there are sort of our neighbors, you know, up in New Jersey there. So great job, everyone. It looks like almost everyone got that one correct. Prutha, again, still rocking the #1 spot. But again, anything can happen. Let's move on to question number 6. According to freshman myth, what happens if you walk across the compass that is embedded into the center of Locust Block? Will you fail your midterm exams? You will never get a date at Penn? You'll drop out at the end of the semester, or you won't graduate on time? Which one of these will happen according to the myth? All right, get those answers in now. And the answer is you will fail your midterm exams. Again, according to myth, you know, experiences may vary. All right. It looks like it's a fight for the top 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. This is still rocking #1 there. So let's go ahead and get on to question number 7. Who is depicted in the 37-foot statue on top of Philadelphia's City Hall building? Is it Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, William Penn, or Thomas Jefferson? All very historical founding father type people there. So who do we have? Right, and congratulations. It looks like most of you guessed Benjamin Franklin, but the answer is indeed William Penn. So great job to you all who got the right answer. Right, again, still got that top spot. We're fighting for the top 5 overall. We'll get the prize. So let's move on here. Philadelphians consume more than 12 times as many blanks than the average person in America. Another key question. Is it pretzels, peanuts, hamburgers, or sushi rolls? What do we eat 12 times more than the average anywhere in the United States? All right, 5 seconds. All right, and the answer is pretzels. Nice job. I don't know if any of you have been to Philly in the last year or so, but there's been a fun campaign on the subways and things going on with little fun facts about Philly, and that's one of them. So it looks like Prutha is still on top, but again, we're gonna go for those top 5 spots for the prize winners. So let's go on here with the next question. Approximately what percentage of Penn students, scholars, and staff are international in our full community? Full community of Penn, about what percentage of the community is indeed international? All right, go ahead and take your best guess there. There's about 5 seconds. Get your answers in. And the correct answer is 15%. So looks like some of you got the right answer. But yeah, it's always an interesting one to find out. It is indeed 15% overall. All right, so we are going to move on to the last question for everything, for the full deal. What is the name of the mascot for Philadelphia's national hockey team, the Flyers? The mascot that came about in like the last 5 years or so and caused a big stir in Philly, and you will probably get to know very well once you're here. So what is the name of that mascot for Philadelphia's hockey team? And the answer is Gritty. So shout out to the 10 people who already knew that. Nice job. For those of you who aren't familiar with Gritty, you will be soon. So look forward to introducing you there. All right, so this was the last question. So we're going to go on and we'll see the top 5 winners. Top 5 winners, please send me a private message if you're able. If not, I will put my email in the chat. Email me to reach out on how to claim your prize from the ISSS office during orientation. So congratulations. Rutha is our #1 winner, but I also want to congratulate our top 5 winners, who are Ethre, Cristobal, Christina, and DB. So great job to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your best shot. I hope you learned something about Philadelphia and Penn. And again, I look forward to seeing all of you on campus soon. And those top 5 winners there, again, please send me a message, or I will drop my email in the chat to everyone, so you can shoot me an email on how to claim your prize. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Rudy, and we'll get started with our student panelists.
Thank you, Jackie. Just turning on my camera here. I'm having a problem turning on. There you go. Oops. I don't know. There you go. Thank you, Jackie, for the great Philadelphia trivia. At least you learned something about Penn and Philadelphia. Claim your prizes. Congratulations to the winners. It's my pleasure to introduce our wonderful students who are joining us today. I will call in your name, turn on your camera, wave to the crowd, tell briefly, something about yourself, where you're from, major, and also what class you are at Penn. Okay, I'll start with Maria Guadalupe Soleeche. Go for it, Maria.
Hi everyone. My name's Maria Guadalupe. People call me Guada. I'm a rising sophomore, class of 26. I come from Paraguay. I was born in the capital, Asunción, and I'm majoring in mathematical economics in the college.
Thank you. Heather Share. Go for it, Heather.
Hi everyone, my name is Heather. I was born in Maryland, the US, but I was raised in Melbourne, Australia. I am class of 2024, so I'm a rising senior, and I'm in Wharton, concentrating in business analytics.
Thank you. How about Dina Zanibikova? Dina.
Hi everyone.
You met Dina yesterday during the role plays with David Kato. Go for it.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Dina. I come from Kazakhstan. I live in Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan. And I'm a rising junior. I study political science and cinema and media studies in the college. Yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Anne, go for it, Anne.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anne. I'm a rising senior in the college studying economics and consumer psychology, and I'm originally from Vietnam.
Thank you. How about Gaurav?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I am a second-year master's student in electrical engineering. I am originally from Delhi, India. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Gaurav. And last but not the least, Nasibullah Andar. Nasib, go for it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Penn. My name is Nasib. I'm a rising junior in the college, and I study biochemistry and mathematical economics, and I was born in Afghanistan.
Okay, Nasib, since you're in the last spot here, I want you to name someone among your panelists. Just give me a name.
Yeah, Dina.
Dina, you'll be answering this question. What was your experience like being an international student and getting internships in the United States? And what was your experience like being an international student and having a part-time job in the United States, if you have? If not, you don't have to answer. I'll give it to the next person.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think coming to Penn, my first year, I mostly had on-campus job. I applied to a couple and I started working in the Vitality Digital Media Lab, where we assist students with their media projects. We help them edit their videos. And that was pretty straightforward process. It wasn't hard for me to apply. I just had to get my social security number, which was a little bit harder because of COVID. But right now, the office works pretty nicely. So I didn't experience any difficulties. And I really enjoyed having my my student work there. I also worked at the Wolf Humanities Center as a communications assistant, and that was also really nice. I helped them run their website. And then over the summer, I worked in Los Angeles in a couple of production companies, helping make movies and stuff. That in terms of paperwork, it was also not as hard as maybe a lot of you guys imagine it to be for internationals. All you have to do is just apply for either OPT or CPT, something that you will learn further on. And it's like the type of paper that UPenn gives you that allows you to work over the summer and to have internship, either unpaid or paid.
So Dina, how did you get all of these jobs? How did you do it? Where did you find them? How did you get it? What was your source of these job opportunities?
So for the on-campus job, I applied through Workday. I just Googled UPenn work study jobs, and everyone has access to that. And on Workday, UPenn posts all the work studies jobs that students can work on campus. I also worked as a photographer on campus as well. I did that by myself. And then with my internships, at first I got my first internship through Cinema and Media Studies department. And they were sponsoring that internship, and I applied through their website. So our faculty member, he kind of helped us navigate that. But because of the writer strike and everything that's happening in LA, that internship got canceled. And I ended up applying to other ones through an external website. It was called entertainmentcareers.net, where everyone can apply for like careers in entertainment business. So yeah, and that's how I got it.
Can you call another person?
Sure. I can call Heather.
Heather, why don't you answer the same question?
Yeah, so I actually had a very pretty much exactly the same experience as Dina. Like I'm also, so apart from being a business analytics concentration in one, I'm also a SIMS minor, which is cinema and media studies. And my internships have been mostly focused on that area. So my internship this summer, I'm working for a production company called Film Nation, and I got it through Penn. So something really amazing about Penn is that we're very well connected, and we have alumni in every single industry, and they are still very connected to Penn. So they'll come back to Penn and say, hey, I want Penn interns. Can you find me some Penn interns? And so I found my internship through this program at Penn called Real Arts at Penn. And they basically try to connect students with opportunities in the media, entertainment, arts space. And so I just applied through there. They have their own portal, and I got the job through that. So that was really amazing. But in terms of on-campus jobs during the semester, I also applied through Workday as a work study student, and they're pretty, they don't really care if you're an international student. As Dina said, it's a pretty smooth process in terms of getting your social security number and everything. So you shouldn't really have much problems in terms of getting employed on campus.
Thank you, Heather. The next question is for a grad student, and we have one grad student only. So this will go to Gaurav. So Gaurav, the question is, my aim is to experience Penn at its fullest. What can a grad student do to explore the plethora of opportunities?
Yeah, definitely. So as an international student, there are a lot of communities, a lot of clubs that you can join. There are different cultural centers that I would recommend being part of. They have different events, activities happening throughout the years. And the international community at Penn, that is definitely a strong community in on itself. And there are a lot of events happening around the year, a lot of celebrations of different festivals from around the world. And to experience the Penn to its fullest, I would recommend being part of the initiatives and reaching out to different clubs, different communities. And that can be a really good experience. Apart from that, I myself am part of GAPSA, the Graduate and Professional Student Association. And that has helped me a lot. In learning different things, and helped me gaining leadership experience as well. So being part of student leadership, that certainly helps, and it helps and experience the Penn to its fullest.
So being involved, don't be shy, just being involved. So Gaurav, call a student aside from Heather and Dina.
Naseeb.
Nasib. So Nasib, this is the big one for you. You have to choose a number from 3 to 14. No, 3 to 13. 3 to 13. Go for it.
I'll choose 3.
3. I would like to understand the breadth of resources available for students, especially international students at Penn. That's a very big question. Tell me about the resources available for students, especially you as an international student.
Yeah, so I think the types of resources available for international students depends upon the different venues that we are considering. There is, for instance, if a student is struggling with their academics, or if they want to enhance their academics, there are a breadth of academic resources available for them. For instance, the Weingarten Learning Center, which is a center that helps students prepare for their exams and help them with their studies, have specialized programs that enhances the academic experiences of international students, and have programs that are specifically designed towards international students. And in addition to that, if we are talking about extracurricular activities or finding their international communities at Penn, we have student-led organizations such as ISAB and ISTAR, which focuses on the experiences of international students, and they make different events throughout the years, and international students could attend them. And in
Nasib, can you talk about, because these are acronyms and some of them are not familiar, can you talk about those 2 acronyms if you don't mind? Yeah.
Yeah, so ISAB stands for International Students Advisory Board, and it's basically a student organization that advocates for the needs of international students. And ISTAR is also one of the bigger clubs under the umbrella of which ISAB stands. And in addition to that, we have different cultural centers for international students that might be specific to specific regions of the world. For instance, we have centers for Asian students, and they could be even more specific, where students have a specific country association. For instance, we have like the Afghan Student Association or the Iranian Student Association. And so there are a breadth of academic resources available for students. And in addition to that, we have different type of extracurricular resources available for them to enhance their experience while they're at Penn.
Thank you so much, Nasib. Guada, this is for you. Question 4 to 13.
11.
11. So your question is, what should I take to Penn? This is a very simple, practical question. What should I bring? What should I put in my suitcase?
Sure. Something that I regretted, like for my first semester, is that my room was kind of empty. I didn't bring many posters, many, like I would say, memories from my country. So the next semester, for example, when I came back home and then went back to Penn, I brought a lot of, like, for example, things that I really value, such as briefs and some letters that some of my friends wrote to me once, or I would say things that, like, you really value from home, or like you really value throughout your childhood. I always appreciate also bringing books, so I can also share and like exchange books with friends. And apart from the basics, like obviously a pillow if you want one from home, or you don't want to buy it at Penn. Clothes. I would tell you, Penn, like Philadelphia is really cold, so like be sure to bring a big jacket if you don't have one. Just buy it at Penn. But I will like tell you, bring a lot of sweaters, jeans, and I think that's kind of like the obvious part, but from like the personal experience, I would tell you to bring some things that you really value, that you can like think about home when you see them.
Okay, thank you, Guada. Are there anything that you would like to add to that suitcase that Guada is packing? Anything that she missed?
Well, I'm not sure. I would also really agree with you that I would bring things that are very personal and things that you really cannot find here and you will really miss. I would say what I did, like what I regret not bringing a lot was, some of the souvenirs, things that like are very special to your country. Sometimes you want to give a small gifts to your friends or to your professors that shows, the culture of your country. And I did that for my second or third and like the semesters after that, even it's just like a very small thing. But it's like very personalized and very meaningful to you. I think that would be like a great way to show your gesture and also to express, your personal identity, what your culture to your friends and to your professors.
Thank you. Any other things? I think those are great, great suggestions. So Anne, since you're still in camera here, give me a number, 4 to 11, except the 11, 4 to 10, 4 to 12, except 11.
4.
4. And then this is everyone. Since all of you have spoken, all of the 7 of you has a chance to answer this question. What is a safe area to live in Philadelphia when we go home late these are student questions, by the way, okay? These are student questions. What is a safe area to live in Philadelphia, especially when we go home late at night? So just turn on your camera, raise your hand, and I will call on you. Yes, Dina.
I think if you mostly like go to classes all the time, like for undergrads, I would recommend living somewhere nearby, like West Philadelphia, where UPenn is located itself. Definitely, if you go further down West Philly, it doesn't get as safe, but that area is the closest to campus. So I would highly recommend choosing a place over there. I know a lot of graduate or like PhD students also like the area nearby the Philadelphia Museum. That considered to be quite safe. If we're talking broader Philadelphia, I really like Northern Liberties or Fishtown. Those areas are way further from campus, but they're considered quite safe. So
okay, any other additional? This is a very good question. Yes, Anne.
Yeah, so I would just want to add, like in pertaining like going home late at night, to calling out a couple of resources. Penn does have a walking escort service that when you're late at night, you can call the walking escort service to have someone walk with you back to your place. Or if you're further down in campus, maybe like if you get back from like New York or DC and you are near the train station, you could also use an app called Penn Transit where you could book. It's very similar to how you would call an Uber. You will have a time there, you would book a Penn transit, and they will usually come in the form of like a bus or like a car, and they will take you back to campus.
Thank you. So again, this is an open floor question. What are some things you wish you knew before starting to study at Penn? Again, these are questions from our new students. What are some things you wish you knew before starting to study at Penn? Yes, Gaurav.
One thing I would really like to say is finding the right balance between academic and social life at Penn, because Penn has a lot of things happening, a lot of social events, a lot of clubs, and at the same time, it can be academically rigorous as well. So it's important that you find the right balance and maintain a healthy social life while performing well academically, and make sure to take proper care of yourself to avoid any burnouts. And yeah, and as we talked earlier, utilize office hours. They are very important. And personally, I think it helped me really well, because office hours was not a concept where I come from, and it was really new to me, and it helped me cope up with some of my courses. And yeah,
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Heather.
Something that I wish I knew before going in was just how important the social aspect of college is, especially in the US. So where I'm from in Australia, and I think just like anywhere other than the US, like university life is very small comparison to like what it is in the US. So like back at home, university life is like 20% of your life when you go to university. Whereas like when you're on campus in the US, it's like 100% of your life is devoted to your college life. And so socializing, meeting people, even like making friends with people outside of like your cultural circle is really important too, because you spend 100% of your time on campus. And yeah, it's just very important to meet new people, be open-minded, and like increase your circle when possible.
That's great, right? Great. Yeah, social. It's a social IV also. And it's a social IV. Anne.
Yeah, I think one thing that I think was really helpful for me is to, learn how to ask for help. I know that like when a lot of you come to Penn, you're all very amazing, outstanding students, wherever you're from your high school, from your universities. So it was always like hard at first to like the concept of like asking for help, whether from your TA, from your peers, from like your professors. I think the first, a couple months of like, learning that it's okay to ask for help and it's very important to ask for help. That realization really helped me a lot in like both succeeding academically and also to like struggle less in my academic journey.
Thank you. Guada.
I wanted to say the same thing as Heather. The like social life, especially at Penn, is really important. I would tell you to definitely join clubs in the first semester. That's a mistake I made. I joined clubs in the second semester and I felt kind of like left behind. For example, in the professional clubs or even the social clubs. You will definitely have time. Don't worry about that. You'll make time for friends. You'll make time for clubs, for classes. Just try everything you can in the first semester and also choose wisely your first classes. I kind of made a mistake choosing my first classes, so my GPA wasn't that good in the first semester. So I would definitely tell you to ask upperclassmen about professors, about some classes, and try to choose, I would not say easy classes, but classes you feel comfortable with.
Okay, Dina.
Yeah, adding on to that about the choice of classes, I think something I wish I did is like being more open to taking classes that are outside of my major. And this probably more applies to college students just because we have way more opportunities to take more classes and we have to fulfill general requirements. So I would recommend to start with those requirements first rather than trying to rush through your major requirements as soon as possible, just because you'll never know what kind of interests you have. Because for example, coming to Penn, I knew I want to do cinema and political science, and this is something I always sticked with. But last year I took a challenge and I decided to take some computer science classes, and I ended up loving them, and they actually ended up working well for me, and I used them like in my workspace as well.
Thank you. So since Nasib did not answer this question, I will ask Nasib this question. Next question. I asked this question with the faculty with a different twist of a question. So Nasib, based on your experience, you will be a rising junior coming up, right? So you have a little bit of experience here now. What are, how do Penn students interact with professors? And what are your suggestions so that they can maximize the effectiveness and the success of interacting with professors to succeed in classes? Go for it.
Yeah, I think there are a few points that one should bear in mind when they're interacting with their professors to maximize the efficiency of such interactions. Obviously, the first interactions with your instructors starts during the classes. And so when you go to classes, you have the opportunity to talk to your professor, ask them questions. And I would consider myself as one of those students who learns different contents by sort of conversing through it. And so I definitely highly advise students here to take the opportunity to ask questions during the classes, especially if they're confused about something, because chances are if you're confused about the concept, most of your classmates are, and you're doing yourself and your fellow classmates a service by asking questions and clarifying it. The second point that I think is important is going to the recitations, because recitations gives you a chance to interact with your professors on a smaller setting. There are usually fewer students, and so you have more time and more opportunity to go through the contents. But at the same time, it's important to realize that although your professors are some of the most esteemed thinkers of their own fields, they're at the same time people, and so they have interests outside their academia. And some of the best instructors that I have had interactions with, we've talked about concepts which or content which were unrelated to our academia. When the professors were talking about some of their experiences in the first section of our meeting today, I sort of went to one of the memories of my interaction in my first semester, where I was talking about Star Wars with one of my chemistry professors during the recitation, and he's like a very good mentor during my time at Penn. So I'd say go there, have those intellectual conversations about the contents of the class, but at the same time, let that human side of you shine through as well during your interactions with your professors and mentors and your fellow students.
Thank you so much. My question is related to courses, okay? Any advice on doing courses that are scheduled at the same time? There's conflict, and I want this course too, but I also want that course also. Who wants to tackle that question? And Hisham, I know you've been patiently raising your hand. I'll call you. You'll be the first one I call during the open floor Q&A, okay? So Hisham, yeah, just stay put. But yeah, that's my question. Courses that are, you both like, yeah, Dina, go for it.
Yeah, I can quickly answer. I would say the first thing to do would probably go to Penn Course Review and compare maybe how well of a professor you have. For example, if in fall you have two conflicting courses, compare how people rated Professor 1 and Professor 2, and then maybe choose a course that is taught by the professor that was like rated more highly. So Penn Course Review is a great source that you can use. And then also make sure that the course that you wanted to take, maybe it's also taught in spring or like it's taught yearly. You can check that, and maybe you can just like take one course in fall, and then the other course that was conflicting you can take later on. So just double check if it's taught again throughout the year, and also you can check the rating in Penn Course Review. So,
any others? So maybe you agree with Dina. So I also asked the question about to the professors, you know, when you want to change a more major or a program of study, what is your best advice to do that effectively? When it's too late, when it's too early, when it's appropriate? Yes, Nasib.
Yeah, I think I would be in a good position to answer this. I think selecting your majors could be done in the first 2 years of your college. So even if you decide on your major at the end of your sophomore year, you still have more than enough time to graduate in time, given that you've taken some preliminary courses in your major area. I think the decision of your major would be very well served if you have a lot of conversations with the academics of that specific field. So for instance, if you want to major in chemistry, for example, I think a good idea would be to talk to your professors in chemistry and get their advice on how a career in chemistry looks like. And at the same time, you could also research the different career tracks that specific majors could lead into. And in addition to that, I would say it would be a good idea to be highly cognizant of your passions and interests in specific field, because I think students tend to do well in specific majors that the content of which speaks to their passions. So I think have those conversations, explore yourself, explore the major that you want to be majoring in, and I think you should be good to go, and you could declare your major until the end of your sophomore year and the beginning of your junior year.
Okay, thank you, Nasib. Are there any events on campus throughout the year, specifically for international students, that you will recommend for me to attend? that I should not miss from the beginning of the semester? Are there any events that I should attend as an international student? And until what are the exciting opportunities for me to be part of? Yes, Guada. Yeah.
I think the first event is obviously orientation. There's a specific orientation for international students. That's where I met most of the international students. I think the event that I enjoyed the most was the picnic that we had. That's where I met mostly of all of my friends. And then after orientation, I would tell you to go obviously to all events, not only international students orientation events, but also every event that you have. You could join AIS, which is the Club for International Students. They usually organize a lot of events. If you don't join them as a board, you can also just go to their events. And there's also a lot of cultural clubs at Penn. You have for Latinos, you have for Asian students, you have for African students, even like I'm part of the German Society. So you don't have to be part of, you don't have to be German, for example, to take part of the events of the German Society. I would tell you to go to most of the cultural events, and especially AIS. I know that they have a big event at the end of semester, which is a formal. So in which they usually do have big parties. So I would tell you to go there too.
Heather.
Hi, so just going off of that, so I'm actually the president of AIS, which is the Assembly of International Students, and we're a student-led club at Penn that mainly serves to welcome international students and make sure that they're integrated into domestically. And so we do host a lot of activities and programs formals that happens at the end of every semester. So that's something that a lot of international students and domestic students will come to. We host obviously the international picnic during NSO, and a lot of NSO events are hosted by us as well as ISSS. Throughout the semester, we'll have Philly walking tours. So we'll go into little groups of 10 to 15, and we'll take them out to the city to see all the amazing things there are to see. We'll go to Rittenhouse Square, we'll go on Target shopping trips. But other than all the international student gatherings, I think something else that should be mentioned are performing arts groups. So those are things that I love going to at Penn. So there are lots of performing arts groups, and they will host once a semester, just a huge concert, I guess. And they're usually $10 to $15. A club that I really love is Jazz and Grooves. They like doing indie concerts and bring indie artists to Penn. And I think it's really amazing. The tickets are super cheap, $5. So that's something that I look forward to every semester.
Thank you, Heather and Guada. I will do an advertising here. There's the Intercultural Leadership Program happening in fall. Nasib, you're about to talk about that? Is that what you're about to say?
Yeah, so I was about to say that. Besides
go for it.
Specific events that our fellow classmates mentioned, I think there are also great programs that would be very enriching during your experience at Penn. One of which is the Intercultural Leadership Program, or shortened for ILP. And Dr. Rudy and other members of the ISSS run that program. And I think it could be one of the most enriching experiences you could have. It teaches you a lot of the cultural nuances that exist in our world and how to navigate your way around them. And so I think it's just a 2-day retreat, but the amount of content that you learn and the friendships that you build during the program would be invaluable for your experience at Penn. I think Dr. Rudy could talk about when does the application process starts and how that work, but I think that's definitely a valuable program to attend during your freshman year.
Yeah, it's in its 17th year, and it won the Models of Excellence Award for Penn. So if you're a Penn World Scholar, you automatically be part of it. But if you're not, it's the only program that caters to both international and US grad and undergrads. There's nothing on campus that provide that experience. Nasib is one of our best leaders I think he was the leader last year, and then we have a group of leaders again this year. We're also offering Penn Global Mosaic this year. First time, I'm sure some of you applied already, so it's closed, but we're very excited to offer the Penn Global Mosaic as a pre-orientation program. And of course, there's the International Student Advisory Board, the International Student Table for Advocacy and Relations. So those are great experiences. So in the interest of time, I would like to ask, this is, I will call on you, but you have to, just one word, okay? One word only. A great Penn student is blank. A great Penn student is blank. One word, okay? And why don't you do it? Start.
Oh, this is a hard one. I would say one word, I would say ambitious.
Ambitious, okay. Gaurav.
I would say involved.
Involved, ambitious, involved. Guada.
Curious.
Curious. Dina.
True to themselves.
That's one word only, Dina, one word.
Oh,
So do you want true?
Yeah, maybe true. Yeah.
True. Okay, honest, authentic. Okay, Naseem.
I would say kind.
Kind. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Kindness go a long way at Penn. You cannot be, yeah, you go to an Ivy League school, but if you're not kind, you know, you will not meet friends. And Heather.
Open-minded.
Open-minded. I know it's like open, curious. I know it's two words, but open-minded is one word anyway in the definition of the dictionary. Anyway, with that, this is so exciting, but I want to open the floor to the group, to our students, our new students and parents. It's your, I know Hisham, you've been raising your hand, so please ask your question. If you're still around, Hisham, please ask your question. Hisham, are you still there?
I think they may no longer be.
So Hisham already left the room. He waited patiently. Any other questions for our students? Jackie, is there any question on the chat in case our students are shy to ask a question?
Well, somebody in the chat did ask how many CU per semester would you recommend for an incoming graduate student? So I don't know if Gaurav wants to take a shot at that.
Yeah.
Gaurav.
Yeah, sure. So the number of course unit, I can talk from my perspective. I'm a student in Cs. I know it definitely depends on what school and what program are you taking, the number of course unit you take per semester. But as for Cs, engineering, I would say somewhere around 2 to 3. That's like a perfect balance, because graduate courses can be a bit hard sometimes. So 2 to 3 is like the perfect amount for maintaining a good GPA and having a good social life as well. So yeah, I would say 2 to 3.
Thank you. Thank you. Sato. Sato, yeah, please. I talked to you yesterday. Please ask your question, Sato. I know you're from Japan, right? Go for it.
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
I'm Keita Sato from Japan, and I'm gonna go to the College of Arts and Science, and my major is economics. And I have two questions, both about the club activities. And first, do you have any recommendations is there any clubs that you are satisfied to join? And the second question is that what would be the procedure to join the club?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Keita, for asking that question. So what club or what involvement are you satisfied? And Anne raised her hand. Go for it, Anne.
Hi. So I would say that you get there are so many clubs on campus, and there are really a lot of options for you to choose from. So the first thing that I would recommend is to attend the club fair, where you can meet all the organizations to talk to people that represent the clubs there and see which clubs suit your interest more. Even if you're majoring in economics, there are a lot of other different areas within broader business, or even not a professional club, maybe like a sports club or something that relates to one of your interests. So I would really highly recommend going to the club fair and talk to the club execs at the club fair. Personally, I am involved in the Wharton Undergraduate Entrepreneurship Club, and I really enjoy that. So it's usually for freshmen, there's a big pressure to join a lot of clubs. And I think it's okay to try it out, different things, but like eventually you will know that which one that you vibe with the most, or which one that you find most useful, and then you will stay with that club, and you will shrink down your club commitment in your sophomore and junior years. So that's what I would suggest. Be open-minded with all of your interests, and talk to people as much as possible. I think that's the best way to learn about what the clubs are doing and whether you enjoy the club environment or not.
Thank you. We have Sato, Elliot, ask your question.
Good morning. I'm Elliot from Trinidad and Tobago. I am going to study in the College of Arts and Sciences. My question is regarding time management with those clubs and the courses and studying and stuff. Were there any resources for time management for students? And if not, how did you as students manage your time with the number of clubs you joined, and or if you pull back from the club at a specific time, those kinds of things?
Thank you, Elliot. Go for it. Who wants to answer the question? Time management, balancing with all these opportunities and clubs on campus. These are very involved students that you're engaging with. Anyone wants to tackle that question? Time, how do you manage your time? Yes, Dina.
Regarding the resources, you can talk to Wayne Garden Center, and there's some people in there that you can literally go to and ask to break down your schedule, and you can consult with them how to best manage your time. I think something that really helped me to manage my time, it was being very clear with what time I'm having for homeworks, because I think coming in as a freshman, sometimes you underestimate and you think, oh, I only have this 6 subjects and I have all this spare time and I could fill in with all the clubs that I joined. But sometimes you have to remember that with all these classes, you would also have to spend as much time doing the homework. So you have to delegate your time and maybe just time block it on your calendar and say that every Friday you're going to spend X amount of time doing this club. And I think also not being afraid to say no sometimes to some of the opportunities, because there's so many. Sometimes you just have to give up something, and just not being scared and not having FOMO, which I think a lot of Penn students have when it comes to different opportunities. So being able to choose wisely, I think it's also important.
Thank you. Catherine, ask your question.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I'm a incoming graduate student to study TESOL. I heard that with this major comes with a lot of writing and reading tasks. So my question is, when you're experiencing immense stress academically, maybe just for the first couple months, who is the best person to talk to and get help from? Is it to directly book an appointment with a medical center to talk to a professional, or with a TA, or with a professor, or with the program manager? So what's your experiences with the stress? Thanks.
Stress management. Yeah, how do you handle that? When work is too much, overwhelming, who do you run to? Any takers? Yes, Heather, go for it.
I would say reach out to your professors or TA, whoever is the one that's leading the lectures, presentations primarily. I just think it's really important to establish an open and honest conversations with professors and TAs, because obviously it's important to seek medical professional help if necessary, but it's important for the professors to know as well, like where you're at, because, you know, they're the ones assigning you the work. So yeah, it's important to tell them like, hey, like this is a lot of work and I'm extremely busy, I'm really stressed. Even just asking for an extension is possible. Like people do it all the time. Professors are usually really understanding. So I think like as some of the faculty members mentioned today, like they really appreciate when students have, you know, honest conversations with them, open up to them, come to office hours, speak to them on a personal level. So I would say that's what you should do.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, have Rishana. Rishana, please ask your question. Rishana, are you there? Yes, please ask your question, Rishana.
Hi, sorry, I just got unmuted. Hi, everybody. I'm Roshana, also from Trinidad and Tobago. So hi, Elliot. I'm hoping to study neuroscience in the college this fall. I'm an incoming first year. So my question really surrounds undergraduate research. So I was just wondering, you know, when is a good time to kind of start that dialogue with, you know, maybe faculty members that you might want to get involved with research as someone who has really no experience in research? When should you start building that sort of relationship or putting that like in your conversations that you might want to get involved in research that they are also conducting as of now?
Thank you, Rishana. Okay, who wants to tackle that question? Nasib, go for it.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think for most students, the second semester of their freshman year is a good time to start having that conversations, because then they have the opportunity to work for a specific professor or in a specific lab during the summer as well. And I think going through a semester or two at Penn would give you the types of skills that apply to most types of research that are being conducted at Penn. But at the same time, I think it would be a good idea to be cognizant of the fact that you could be involved in a specific research at different labs at different level of depths. So you don't need to have like a really good grasp on the contents that are being researched in a specific lab or in a specific sector to request a specific professor to let you in into their club. So I think the first semester is a great time to adjust to a new academic curriculum, especially if you're an international students. And then going on from that, your second semester or your first summer would be a great time to explore different research opportunities and request to be part of the different intellectual researches that are being done on campus.
Thank you, Nasib. Okay, I think that's the last of the questions for today. I would like to thank our panelists, Heather, Nasib, Dina, Guada, Gaurav, and Anne for your time. I know how busy you are with your internships or other activities that you're doing, or whether you're home in your home countries. We really appreciate, and we're looking forward to interacting with you, and join us in welcoming this new class of 2027 soon. But before we dismiss our group, I would like to give Jackie the chance to talk about getting those Forerunner t-shirt, and then we will end with a welcome to Penn video. Okay, Jackie, go for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rudy. And thank you again to our students. You all are wonderful. I've worked with all of the students on screen here, over the years at Penn, and you're in great hands with their advice. So I just want to remind you all that we do indeed have Forerunner t-shirts available for everyone who has attended Forerunner over these last couple days. So I want to remind you that to pick up your Forerunner t-shirt, You can, sorry, got to go through the presentation a little bit here. You can claim your t-shirt during the week of orientation. And to do that, you can attend the new student resource fair that's going to be on Tuesday and Wednesday of that week, the 22nd and the 23rd. Find us at the ISSS booth at the fair, and then just show us your registration on Eventbrite, your Eventbrite email for this event, and we will give you your selection of t-shirt. So go ahead and please find us, introduce yourself, and get your t-shirt. And another shout out to the winners of the trivia. I did put my email there in the chat for you all. I'll put it in again. Please reach out to me to claim your prize. I think I already got an email from Christina, so thank you. But I just wanted to thank you all again, to our student panelists, faculty panelists, and everyone who attended these last couple days. Again, please stop by, get your t-shirt, and we will end with a short video.
Welcome to Penn. I'm a Penn student from Philadelphia.
Welcome to Penn.
Mabuhay.
欢迎来到 Penn. እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ. I am from Ethiopia.
Welcome to Penn. I'm from Los Angeles, California.
We're from Penn Dental. Welcome to Penn.
Welcome to Penn. Welcome to Penn. Welcome to Penn. 欢迎. Welcome to Penn. Murakaza Neza. Carlos, see if this is Penn.
Welcome to Penn. We're so excited to welcome you home.
Howdy, buddy. Welcome to Penn.
मेरा नाम सैयद नोमान कादरी है और मैं शुक्रिया.
The Kenyans at Penn want to tell you, Karibu Sana.
With that, we would like to welcome you to Penn, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the fall semester. Thank you for coming to Forerunner Global. We're very excited. Penn is waiting for you, and to all our student panelists, thank you so much again for your wonderful help. We'll see you in August. This August, it's already August. Last week of August. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.